And we are live for the second
Mhm.
night in a row. Hello, everybody out there in the live reality games world, in the Survivor LU world. It's Dom, joined with my co host Drew, and we are here with Ben from season one of Survivor LU. Ben,
Mhm.
how are you doing today?
I am doing all right. Excited to be here, and yeah, it's fun to kind of recap. I guess the events of what happened about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and kind of I don't know, kind of flesh out my story a little bit more, kind of like my side of things as you've heard like everybody else's as they've like come on.
Definitely, definitely. And for everybody who's tuning in, it's so great to have Ben out here. Ben was one of the biggest voices that we've seen from the start to the all the way to the end. I know that I did not have you going very far in my predictions, and I am so glad again that you proved me wrong, just like so many people in your cast did.
Mhm.
And for all those out there, spoiler alert: Ben did come in fourth. He was the robbed
Yes.
king of
Yes.
season one. So Ben, overall, how was your Survivor journey? If you could describe it real quick.
Man, it was an experience. Like honestly, some of my favorite college memories were from playing on season one. In that, I honestly played about as good of a game as I think I theoretically could have. And of course, like it sucks when you're at Final Four. One tiny slip up ended cost me like the challenge and most likely the game. But such is life sometimes. And I was proud of my game. I was happy with how things turned out, and yeah, like I mean, it was quite an experience and journey, and made some awesome friends like through
Well, it looked like you were having a blast from your very first
For
confessional
sure.
to all the way to
Absolute.
the end. I do have to ask because we've asked everybody what
Mhm.
their casting journey was like. I want to know what yours is like. But before we go into there, Logan said you were one of the few, like one of the people that once you walked in the room, you were like basically on already. So can you fill me in on what got you to go to this audition?
Okay, so it's an interesting story. So all what happened was I was walking to class one day and I saw a flyer in the I believe it was in the stairwell in one of the like main classroom buildings that was put up, and it was like kind of like talking about like a full semester Survivor experience that and like competing to win $100. And I'm as a huge fan of the show, like my entire family is. It really was something that piqued my interest, and I was like, hey, like this sounds like a ton of fun. Why not just apply and find out? Because I know I've always been a fairly adventurous person and like will try almost anything once to see whether I like it or not. And so it just seemed like a fun opportunity to really get to like play as close to real Survivor as I could. And so I filled out the application that they had on like a online, and I tried to word things in a way that made me sound like a very cutthroat and ruthless player that would try to really grab attention. Because I mean, I'm not sure how many people were applying. Like, I assume there were a bunch, so I had to try to at least like stand out in like some way that kind of it's like, oh, huh, this is someone we might want. And then came in for the interview. Interview went fairly well. Kind of like talked through a bunch of my game and how I would like want to be playing. And kind of like showing off that like I generally tend to be a very calm, calculated, and very strategic individual, just with like the game of Survivor, but also just I guess in life in general. But I guess they liked me enough, and then they ended up getting me on, and then gosh, what a time that was.
Yeah.
Um,
So what was it like for you, like once you actually got on, like you have your first impressions, and
yeah,
what was your semester like?
So it was very hectic to say the least. I got our just the first day trying to meet up and get to know everybody, get everyone's vibe. I like almost shot myself in the foot super hard week one because like I was almost first boot because I was pushing way too hard way too early. Of course, like I took the knowledge at the start of the game, and thankfully I was able to play that off to where people didn't suspect me. But at the same time, I think I really did. Like, David had it out for me at the start, and then at first, like, Alexa was wanting to push people to go vote me, as well as like Addie Grace and Megan Harvey. And then later that week, thankfully, since David didn't really reach out to anybody, and then also really after like talking to Alexa, and they kind of really solidified kind of like the Gihan 5 as we called ourselves, it thankfully saved me week 1, and that would have been so tragic if I was first boot. But thankfully that didn't happen. And then, really, I think a lot, at least on my tribe, it was a very strong core 5 alliance that really got us through fairly far into the game. And that's, eventually it did like break apart, of course, but you kind of see that as a central theme of like us 5 versus first it was like Megan, Addie Grace, and David, but then also the rest of Tigress afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you were one. I remember you came out straight up and said, you wanted an alliance of 7 or something. That was like in your pregame interview or something. And I thought it was hilarious at the fact that you got the ball rolling on the Gihan tribe. And I remember talking about it way back when you guys premiered about how, Ben's out in the open, Ben's on the open. But I thought you were really able to reel that in, especially after week 1. Yeah, and I guess one of my big questions for you, though, because it did seem like you were really Gihan strong. What was it like for you when I believe Luke was the one that cast the vote for you? Like, were you still like thinking that?
Yeah, so of course, like I was a little shook by that, as I thought me, Nathan, and Luke were like the core 3 of like the Gihan 5, but obviously that wasn't the case, as he would put the vote on me if he saw me as the plan B, essentially, if like, Megan does actually play an idol and is like, we'll get Ben out. And that really did, I think, really make me lose a lot of trust in Luke. But at the same time, I wasn't really in a position to jump ship. And then if I were to ever like think of like flipping on like Gihan, since like, it was self-evident that I was probably at the bottom at that point in time. Then when the split into 3 tribes happened, that of course I was the only like Gihan on a tribe of 3 Tigress, and so we ended up winning that challenge, so I didn't have to worry that week. But then once the merge hit, it didn't really go too much into the episode, but it was a very prevalent thought on my mind. But kind of with my thought process, I figured that, especially since at the time we thought like the Megan plan, as we called it, where Megan like talked to Luke and said, hey, we want to pick the rest of Gihan off. It just didn't seem like the best choice for me to take the massive risk and flip on former Gihan and then possibly just be at the bottom of Tigress. And so it wouldn't have really done me much good. And then at the time I ended up deciding that it was probably in my best interest to take the gamble of going to Rocks, which thankfully did end up working out.
I have another question for you, going back a little bit. So it was briefly mentioned that on the very first day, you did take the knowledge. You were one of 2 people, you and David. And that was a clue to an idol. And you searched for the idol, got very close to finding it, but did not. So can you tell us a little bit more about sort of that search? Like, how much time did you put in? What were your thoughts behind that?
I put in about an embarrassing amount of time trying to find that idol. I guess the idol hunting skills is something I do not have, as I like after I searched like for several hours around the lake, it was at night, so I guess probably a better idea would have been to go around during the day, since that's where it was at. But I guess I just missed it when I was looking around at night with my flashlight, since I was afraid of getting like spotted by someone's like, oh wait, what's Ben doing over there? That's interesting. But yeah, and then after I didn't find out the lake, like I rode my bike all around campus to every single like body of water, like all the fountains, all like the smaller lakes, all the like the pools. I even biked like 1.5 miles out to the natatorium that Liberty has, and nothing there. And so I was really crushed when I couldn't find it, because I'm like, dang, I took all this risk to take the knowledge, and then it just didn't end up doing me didn't really do anything for me. Of course, I was later able to still incorporate that into my game at like Final 6 with like my fake idol play. But at the time, it's, it just feels so bad where it's like, hey, I've always wanted to play Survivor. I would love to be able to find an idol because that's just like everyone wants to find an idol. But sadly, it didn't end up working out. But in the same way, though, because I didn't find that idol, that was the same idol that Liz found with the clue that she got from Luke at the eating challenge. And so if she wouldn't have found that idol, then the two like idol play at Final 12 to take out two Tigress members, even up 5-5 at the merge, wouldn't have happened. And so, and I know myself, I probably would have been very selfish with my idol and not thought of, hey, what if I go try to play this for another Gihan member? And so, yeah, it's just really interesting just how, you know, small things like that really cause like a domino effect to really impact other things in the game that I may not have like intended for that to occur, but it's just how it played out.
Yeah, definitely a huge butterfly effect going on there just because you didn't find that idol. And I guess the question that I had while watching, and the question that, you know, I still have now that I have you to ask, jumping all the way ahead to your fake idol play, how long was that brewing? Were you thinking of that plan like for an extended period of time that you like would be able to do this at one point, or was that just kind of like a, you know, light bulb kind of moment?
Yeah, so I guess it was a bit of both, if I'm being honest. So I remember even like before, like I went on to like Survivor LU, like I don't know, I saw like various fake idols that people like made on the actual show, and I was like, you know, people could be playing these a lot better than they really are. As like, and I guess it's kind of like a very loose idea of like what I did, where it was playing it as if it was like real essentially, rather than kind of, I don't know, just maybe trying to hide it and hope someone else finds it, or I forget some of the other things that people have tried to do with fake idols. But and then of course like around like I think it Derek put it in as a little bit of foreshadowing in episode 3 where like I mentioned, hey, I might actually oh, there goes Drew. But yeah, I mentioned that I might actually like make a fake idol sometime in the future when like I called out Megan's as fake. As it was like, hey, this, you know, might be something I could end up doing to possibly get myself further in the game. And that idea really started to culminate around Final 7 time, as I realized that I either most likely have to win out or somehow like pull some like major ace out of my sleeve to try to get myself through those tribals, as people like saw me as a big threat to most likely win the game and would take me out given the opportunity. And so that's when I guess more the specifics of the plan tended to implement themselves, was that like Final 7, Final 6 time frame. But of course, like the general idea of making a fake idol play was something that I had thought of for like a long time. It's like, you know, what if someone actually did this on Survivor, and then being able to do it myself, which made me extremely happy.
And we had Nicole on last night, and she said that you actually went to the same place that like the producers got the whatever they used to make that idol as the real ones. How were you able to figure that out?
So I remember hearing so from other like Gihan members that like it was a bit of a slip on the producer's end that they mentioned that they got materials for the season from Hobby Lobby, and so that was like, that's a mental note I want to keep track of, because like of course if you want to make a fake idol, you want to make it as close and legitimate to the real thing as possible. Part of the reason why like the one that like Alexa, Luke, and Nathan made at Merge didn't work out was that it just like it wasn't as realistic or looked close enough to the actual thing. Same thing with like Megan Harvey's at like episode 3, where it just wasn't super like close to what the actual immunity necklace or idols did look like. And of course, I wanted to make sure I took note of it when I did have the immunity necklace, like the 2 weeks that I had it from like the challenges I won, and then also like Dawson's idol that I saw get played. And that was kind of what I wanted to base my design off of, so that it not only like I could like talk the part, but also like show it and say like, oh, this actually looks almost exactly like what we've seen in the show, and make it that much more believable.
I have a question about, sorry, also my internet cut out. So I have another question about your fake idol. So you make the fake idol and you use it to save yourself twice, basically. But then going into Final Four, you're obviously the biggest threat.
Yes.
What was your plan? Just like, okay, I have to win. Or was there hope that maybe you could have gotten out of it? Because in watching, sorry, I'm going to go on like a little side tangent about this.
No worries.
So watching, I'm like, okay, Ben's screwed because he's going to get cut at 4 if he doesn't win the challenge. And I was like, okay, does he think he has a way out of this? Because the only way, the only way I could think to get you out of that situation would be if you at 5 tried to play the idol and then were told it's fake and you're like, oh no, it's fake. Who gave me a fake idol?
Yeah, like,
And
I mean,
I don't know. What was your plan?
That could have been a possibility. I guess my mindset was I need to win Final Four, or that I thought at the time that they were going to do something how they do in Modern Survivor, where the winner of the Final Four challenge takes one person with them to Final 3, and then the last 2 battle it out in like kind of like a final like tiebreaker challenge. But then when I found out that that wasn't actually the case at that like right after the Final 5 Tribal Council, that was like, okay, I need to win this challenge in order to win the game. As I guess my thought process was, I want to make it like so obvious that like I would be like the best contender to win the game after that move, that it would have, like, when declaring at Final 5, it was fake the whole time. But at the same time, the thought of like trying to play it at Final 5 and be like, oh wait, it's fake, oh that sucks, that might have been a way of getting myself like a little bit under the radar. But I still think that people saw me as that much of a threat that I don't think I would have been able to shift perceptions to not want to like vote me out. Because it still is like, even if it was fake and like I played it off as, or tried to like play it off as like, oh wait, what, that probably would still like come across as like, even though it was fake, I mean, it still got him through 2 tribals that he should have been voted out at. And so, yeah, I guess that was kind of like my overall like thought. And obviously it sadly didn't work out. It was a heartbreaker moment, especially like watching the finale as it was like aired when we put it out, just reliving that like from a year and a half ago. It hurt my soul a little bit to watch me move my hand from Sparky. But, you know, such is life sometimes.
What were your thoughts once you lost that Final Four challenge? Like, were you just like, okay, I'm done, like there's no way? Or were you, where was your mind at?
I mean, I was like pretty like disappointed because I knew that my odds were extremely slim going into it. Like I know I talked with both Liz and Nicole, and like I was like, hey, is there any way we could maybe work together for like the Final Four tribal? And they're like, yeah, sorry, Ben, like you're too much of a threat. Like, love you as a person, but we're gonna need to vote you out because you would beat us in Final 3. And so like I respected their frankness and honesty towards me. And so my best bet like was like Nathan, as like we were close allies and close friends for the entire game. And like he said, he would never like vote me out or write my name down. And so I like tried to see if I could like, since he's a super fan of the show, I could maybe like try to convince him that like, hey, we're the 2 best players, we should go to the end together and duke it out at Final 3. And at least give me the chance to like, you know, battle it out in like a one-on-one face-off in Final 4 if there is a tie, if we both vote Liz and then like they both vote me. And he said that he did consider it a little bit, but ultimately he decided against it, which was the right move for his game in order to win the game. But of course it just, you know, it hurts when you're this close, but then like so far at the same time.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the jury was like? What were the jury vibes? How did you personally determine who you wanted to vote for to win?
Yeah, so like going into it, I already knew like I was voting Nathan because I know I said in my confessionals that if I don't win the game, I wanted him to win the game because, again, we were close friends and we worked together the entire game. And I thought that he played by far the best social game out of anybody. But I thought that the jury would be a lot more Nicole favored than it actually ended up being.
We all did.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I thought like a lot of the Tigress members would be like a lot more leaning towards her because she's, you know, the last Tigress. She made it to Final 3. She got herself there. and was able to like get through a fairly like difficult or navigate a fairly difficult like I guess post-merge situation, especially when Tigress fell out of the numbers. But a lot of people, I think, or especially some of the Tigress members, they felt a little burned by her, especially when her idol play at Final Five, like it didn't really do anything, and that she could have used that idol at other points in the season to really make a major impact in the game, but it just didn't end up working out. As well as, yeah, it's just they felt, especially like talking to some of them, like seeing like how Nathan like played a lot of the social game. They felt like he did play a extremely strong game kind of behind the scenes, as he never really came up as a threat, despite him having a major say and influence in the vast majority of the things that were done in the game. And so that just ended up being significantly in his favor at Final Tribal.
Yeah, Ben, I have a kind of a, I don't know if it's more of a statement or a question, but I do have a question. I guess I do have a question. So whenever I ask the question to other castmates who have been voted out, I always ask, you know, whose edit has surprised you the most in terms of doing, you know, more than you thought that they were doing in the game? And it seems to come up that both your name and Nathan's name kept coming up in terms of like, I'm surprised they had this conversation with somebody. So there's a lot of parallels between your game and Nathan, the winner's game. At what point did you think maybe that, you know, Nathan might be in a better position to you, or did you ever see Nathan as like equal or more of a threat?
I did see him as a threat because I knew we were working together for a long time, and really like we knew a decent amount about each other's games, and we were seeing like kind of how we were doing a lot behind the scenes. And originally I was planning on like voting him out, but of course at like well, after I got through Final Five and at Final Four, I was not 100% like sure if I would take him to Final Three with me, because like I thought I would beat him at Final Three, or if like I should just vote him out as like the safe option and take Nicole and Liz with me, because I was very confident I would beat like both of them at the same time. Because he did like, it was self-evident that he was playing a extremely strong social game. And I think that part of it was also, though, like I wanted to try to bring Nathan with me as far as I could, because like I know that like again, if I didn't win, I wanted him to win, because I thought he would be the most deserving if I didn't get it, just because of just knowing how much he did, and that a lot of people really weren't aware of how much it was, and except for like me, him, and then like Luke, when Luke was still in the game and working with Nathan closely, and so that was kind of like, it was a thing on my mind, but it was not like, oh, I need to get him out sooner rather than later, if that makes sense, because we were working so closely. It would be like, I wouldn't want to take him out, which would be one of my closest allies, earlier, when there are just other people that would be better targets at this point in time.
Gotcha. And so I guess I can ask you this question. Who was there anybody that you saw watching back like had the same like impact that you and Nathan have had on your other castmates?
I mean, if I'm being honest, not really. I think people were about as active as I thought they were at the time. I think Nicole had a couple more conversations than I thought she had, because like I didn't think she really ever talked to like Luke or Liz very much, but of course like they like didn't have any interest in working with her, so it just didn't end up working out. But I wouldn't say I was really surprised by any of the edits or confessionals that people put out, outside of like a couple like savage remarks that like Dawson made at times, because yeah, he's just this like funny like energetic person that realized, but then his remark at like the merge episode where he's like, they're not people, they're pieces, it's like, dang, okay. But yeah, so I would say overall though, I wasn't exactly like surprised. Of course there were some like conversations that I like wanted to be able to see like happen, but I wasn't like, oh wow, this person did so much more than I really thought or realized.
Gotcha. Was there anything that we didn't get to see that you were a part of that you thought, should have been included, or, you wish you were included to maybe give more life to your game, even though it was already full of life?
Yeah, that's tough. I think with the Dawson vote out, they didn't really include the conversation that I had with Nathan where I really pushed hard for him to not work with Dawson and to vote him out this week. As like he mentioned to me that's what really convinced him to not go along with like the plan that was put out there with possibly teaming up with Dawson to go make a majority alliance. And that's really pushed like a very solid majority onto him. And like taking him out while we had the chance, which was kind of like my argument. And then I guess outside of that, I don't really think there was much else. Of course, there was part of my like fake idol story was week 2. Me, Luke, and Nathan, like I asked them, hey, do you guys want to look around Camp Hideaway for an idol? Which was like the like outdoor camp place where we did like the canoe challenge at. And so during like my fake idol speech, like I incorporated that into it. It's like, oh yeah, because it was like by the water's edge, what you seek most. That was like me trying to see if I could search for the idol without like drawing suspicion and stuff like that. But outside of those two things, I can't really think of much that would really add more like, I guess, context or I guess life to like the game I played outside of what was really put on the screen, outside of I guess just some extra conversations I had, because I know I was meeting up with a lot of people on a regular basis, especially Nathan and Nicole. I had a lot of conversations with Nicole, and that's like, and kind of seeing how my relationship with both Nate and Nicole really did like help me in a lot of ways, especially when it came to getting information about like Alexa wanting to target me this week, or I mean not like the week of Final 6. And so I think those were the main things that come to mind, I think.
Okay. So Ben, the question that I've asked everyone, would you play again?
If given the opportunity, absolutely. I know that I would be like a major like target. I think people would be a little like scared of like working or playing with me because my season's out. People like saw how I played. They would probably see me as like a good player and a very big threat. But at the same time, it's like, when else in my life would I be able to get to play College Survivor? And, if given opportunity, I would do my best and play again.
If you were to not play, who else from your cast would you want to see play again?
From season 1?
Yeah.
Oh, man, absolutely Ellie. Like, Ellie was robbed so hard.
Yeah, she was.
Like part of it's like, I mean, I'm happy things turned out the way they did, because if Tigress like didn't lose the rock draw, then Gihan would have been in such a terrible position, and the rest of the game would have been changed, and I probably wouldn't have made it nearly as far as I did. But at the same time, you feel like so bad because like, I mean, in real life, Ellie's such like amazing person. Like her Drew, and then like I know she like, I'm pretty sure she came on here like earlier, but yeah, like awesome person, and like, of the people in season 1, she deserves to play again the most, just because of just the unfortunate circumstances that like caused her to get voted out. And really, I would love to see her game really, I guess, blossom in a way we really didn't get to in season 1, just due to the rock draw.
Now that we've brought up Ellie was on your swap tribe, correct?
Yes.
It was you, Nicole, Nate, and Ellie, right?
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
I have had this question: if you guys were to lose, where would you fall? Because people who have come on here have kind of said that you weren't necessarily the top target. I think we could have seen some Tigress divide. What was the general vibe when it came to that?
Yeah, so I know like when I saw the split into like the 3 tribes and saw myself as the lone Gihan, I'm like, oh man, I need to make sure that we win this challenge, because otherwise, like, I'll most likely be the easy vote out. And we thought Tigress was like super tight buddy, and there wouldn't be any hope for me. And of course, like after the fact, I learned that actually like Nate and Ellie were like beefing for a while when they were put on the same tribe, and so Nate like put out the idea of possibly like trying to see if he didn't say it during the week, but like after the season was over, he's like, yeah, I would have probably tried to, or might have tried to get Nicole to try to vote out Ellie. But then like after with like you, Nicole and him, but Nicole seemed not, or well, seemed pretty set of like, oh yeah, Ben's the easy vote, mentioned it in her confessionals, and I don't think would have been as on board with that, and Nate would have not been able to like convince her to do that, and so I probably would have received 3 votes anyway. And like I was, after like talking to like some of like the Gihan people, like they would have given me an idol in that instance, and so I would have been safe anyway. In the way that like they use the idols to keep themselves safe and vote out 2 Tigress members from the other 2 tribes. But at the time, no one had any idols, and I was pretty confident that like we needed to win the eating challenge. And then like Ellie, like she kind of felt like a similar manner because like she knew that like Nicole and Nate, she wasn't super close with compared to like other people on Tigress. And so like even though like Nicole and Nate didn't have the strongest stomachs, like me and Ellie like beast moded that challenge. Like I mean, I had so much respect for her after that. But yeah, so that's kind of how I saw that playing out.
Gotcha. And since you bring up the eating challenge, I want to transition into my next favorite question to ask. What was your favorite and least favorite challenge of the season? You guys had some amazing challenge designs utilizing, the lakes that you had, or the ponds. I don't know how big they are actually, but it looked like a blast and would have been fun to do.
Absolutely.
What was your top and bottom challenges, I guess?
So the bottom challenge was definitely the spoon challenge that we did, episode 3. It kind of felt like a minute to win it game rather than an actual like survivor challenge, which all the other ones did feel like legitimate survivor challenges. But then my favorite one was like, I really loved the hanging out one. I don't know, I've always like loved climbing things as a kid, and like,
we saw.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And like I believe it was episode 6, I believe, where I went upside down on the like the metal like bars near the Freedom Tower. But yeah, that was fun. But and so I mean I really like those types of challenges where it's just like endurance, like hang on to something for a long period of time. But I really did enjoy the merge challenge as well, with like, I thought it was a good combination of things with like the over-unders, then the like tossing balls to knock over cups, and then like a puzzle where it was kind of incorporating like all these survivor aspects into one.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's funny to see your journey kind of also go through the challenges, so to speak. I don't know, where you're accidentally giving people concussions in the second challenge, going all the way, winning a couple immunities and stuff, beasting your eating challenge. I know Gihan had a tough run of losing, and it all kind of ended up coming up short, but you definitely gave it your all out there, and it always looked like you're having fun. And I have noticed a trend until I saw you upset, like hanging on something. There always seems to be one person in a live game that decides to climb up and try to find something. I had that happen in my game. People will climb up trees and stuff, and I'm like,
for sure,
I can barely get up there. I don't know how you expect me to climb up and get that. And I remember watching you do that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Ben's actually gonna show like he's physically strong. Like it might be, a little bit, it might blow up his game a little bit. And then Luke decided to blow up his game. And I was like, oh, never mind. Ben's in a good position.
Oh, never mind.
And so I guess transitioning into the next question, your season had so many memorable moments, from your drawing the rocks, the double idol play even before drawing the rocks. Can you pin down at least one point that like you were, the most nervous you've ever been? And then one point that, you just the thrill of the game, like was just like you left the tribal council and you were like, this is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I survived that.
Okay, well, yeah, I think it's self-evident what it's going to be,
Mhm.
but yeah, like Final Six before Tribal going into it, and then with like going into it, I have no idea how this fake idol play is going to work out. It could go great, it could blow up in my face, but like, I mean, I was really nervous, and that while it didn't really show in the episode, like my hand was like shaking a little bit just because. Like, even though I tend to do fairly well in high pressure and high stress environments, like, you know, I'm human and I don't have perfect control over like my body and emotions as like much as I would like to. And so just I was like super like nervous, even though like it didn't come out like visibly very much. But then after that tribal was over and I got through it, I was just so stoked and like you said, just felt like alive in the game. Like just one of those moments where like I was like honestly one of my favorite college memories of just like, yes, I pulled that off and I got myself through that week. And then just seeing how like, I don't know, duped people seem to like feel afterwards. It's just like, no, we actually fell for that. Yeah, that was just honestly like such a highlight for me.
Well, it was so fun to watch.
Yeah, it was.
And I have to ask because it seems like, yeah, you were very well spoken there. I know I would have been stumbling over my words, like trying to keep my story straight. I probably would have memorized what I was going to say for so long and still found a way to like mess it up. But it seemed like there was one other person that maybe could rival you in terms of persuasiveness or, I'll just say it, Alexa. Alexa was really good, and I was wondering what your relationship with her, like how that evolved throughout the game, because it seemed like everybody was pinning her as the head of the Gihans, but it, like watching it, it really never came across that way.
Yeah.
But it seemed like she kind of did have a better grip on the Gihan Strong Alliance than other people did. So I was wondering how your relationship with her like kind of formed throughout the game.
Yeah, because like I know of like the Gihan like five, she was the one I was least close with. I guess it just didn't like I mean I talked with her some and I tried to like meet up with her every now and then, but overall it seemed like she really wanted to hitch her horse with Luke and Liz specifically. And then also with like Nathan more than myself. And even though like I mean she's a wonderful person and we're still like good friends like after the fact, but like during the game she kind of felt a lot more distance in terms of like willingness to work with me. And I think that also kind of gave me even more of a feeling of like, yeah, she'll probably want to be targeting me, seeing how like I heard that she was like working closely with Luke and then like with Nathan and with Liz, but then I was at times left out of conversations, especially when she found a fake idol clue, or well, what she thought was an idol clue, but didn't end up like she didn't end up like telling me about it. And so that was kind of that was another thing that didn't come up in the episode where there was a an idol that wasn't found. But when she found what she thought was a clue to it and then didn't share it with me, but shared it with other members of Gihan, that was kind of like oh, okay, I think I see where we stand type of moment. But yeah, it was kind of like I knew she was a big threat though, because she was able to articulate herself extremely well, like by far the best out of like the people like in the game, and was very good at being convincing to others to win them over, if that makes sense. At times it was a bit alienating as like, Nicole kind of was rubbed the wrong way by her, and it did at times come to like bite her like in the butt at the end where like people wanted to like vote her out at final five. And like Nathan felt like he would have a bit of a hard time being her at final three because of just how good she was at articulating herself. But yeah, it was kind of like we worked together in like the Young Five, and we were like loyal for a time. But my conversations with her were primarily as a group, and it wasn't a whole lot of like one-on-one strategy between me and her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was also wondering, I guess, because the layout of your Gihan alliance, going into the merge, like, who did you more so gravitate to? Like, who were you more using as shields? And like, were you as open or as Gihan strong as, you know, they kept saying that you guys were? And we saw you kind of navigate that a little bit. But yeah, how, ranking 1 through 4, how would you say like your relationship with them was the strongest to the weakest?
Yeah, I would say that for like each person, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, Nathan was definitely like a 4 because I was just working really closely with him the entire game. Luke at first was a 4 also, but after he put the vote on me, episode 3, that like dropped pretty much to a 2, where I was like, okay, I want to work with him for as long as like it is like helpful for my own game, but I pretty much just want to be using him as a shield because he is such a visible threat, and also like he clearly has other plans if he is using me as the plan B. Liz, I would say, was at I would say probably a 3. Because, like, I mean, I trusted her much more than Luke and Alexa. And then, like, Alexa was probably also a 2, because, like, I mean, I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to throw you guys under the bus, like, one level. But of, like, once we got to the merge, I would say Luke and Alexa were the ones I was like most like I guess least close to and wanted to get out eventually. As like I wasn't I didn't believe in Gihan to final 5 because that's just not gonna work, and then I would just get voted out because I'm pretty certain I was the bottom of that 5. And so I wanted to like kind of monkey branch out to Tigress members and try to work my way in with some of them as well, which like through my relationship with like Nate and Nicole. Because like it was kind of like, oh, okay, I want a plan B if the rock draw doesn't go in our favor. And like I like conveyed to Nicole that I wanted to be honest and authentic with her, and that I think she would have like wanted to graft me in with her in alliance in the event Gihan did lose the rock draw, as you know, I would need to jump ship immediately, as you know, our boat's sinking. I gotta just hope that I'm able to work my way in and try to make something else happen. Or if things did go in our favor, I would need to bring in Tigress members to get extra numbers to then eventually take out Luke and Alexa. And so, of course, like things don't always play out like perfectly, but that was kind of like my general like idea in terms of where I was at, as I was kind of more of just, hey, we need to stick together in order to survive type of deal, but not because like I wanted to take everyone with me to final 5, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, Ben, you definitely had an incredible journey throughout the season.
That's one way of putting it.
I can't believe like I am talking to the 4th place person after seeing your pregame interview. Again, it was super cool to see you. At least you said it yourself. You wanted to come in the game and you play, like you said, like you kind of pitched like this backstabby type of person, but it was so fun to like see you kind of dance the line of playing that character as well as yourself. So seeing that brought to the screen in the first season, it was definitely so much fun to watch you play. And in a season that was, you know, that required a lot of diverse skill to get to the end, you came as close as possible to do that. So congratulations in that sense. You definitely top contender for top contender for most robbed performance of the season, I feel like.
Well, let's not forget Ellie.
Of course, yeah.
Ellie as well.
Ben's story's a little bit more developed, but I would also love to see Ellie get her redemption for that rock. But also would love to see Ben get his redemption for that statue. Missed the hand. Ben, one final question from me.
Yeah.
Drew, if you have any more, let me know. But Ben, I want to know what you have been up to for the fans to know since you cast your winning vote for Nathan. What have you been up to?
Yeah, so I mean, Since then, like I'm a computer science student. I've been trying to keep up with classes. I'm a huge technology nerd, so I really love just teaching myself about that stuff in my free time. This summer, I'm working full time for an IT company in like the greater Lynchburg area. And yeah, that's kind of like where I want to be going, primarily in like the cybersecurity specifically. But yeah, that's kind of like where I want to be like going in life in general. And then like, I'm into gymnastics. I found like a gym in the area that's like has a full gymnastics gym and also like an American Ninja Warrior like obstacle course. So I've really been into like training that stuff, as always like love to do that. And who knows, I might actually apply to be on the actual show American Ninja Warrior, but we'll see. But yeah, in terms of that, have a bunch of like nerdy hobbies that I'm into, but it's especially like competitive Smash Bros. But that's very niche. But yeah, and then just hopefully just trying to teach myself more about like technology and help like get like certifications and things I need to help like get me to where I want to be in life in the future. But yeah, that's kind of like mainly what I've been up to for the time being.
Gotcha. I would definitely recommend applying to both American Ninja Warrior and the Real Show Survivor. I think you would be a great fit for both of them. You could, ride that reality TV wave, so to speak.
Who knows? Maybe.
Before we sign off, Drew, do you have any final comments, questions, concerns for our 4th place finisher this season?
Yeah, Ben, I feel like I've said this to so many people, but it's true every time. You were so much fun to watch on this season. The first couple of episodes, I was like, oh, okay, this guy is just a character. He's going to be a pre-merge boot. And you developed strategically, you maintained the audience's interest. You were so much fun to watch, both from like a super fan standpoint and also like he's just really fun to watch. So I would love to see you again on my screen playing. I know you and I have played a couple of one-day games together, and I think you've always bested me. So that's fun. But yeah, I'd love to see you again on a longer version of Survivor. So definitely something to keep in mind.
Yeah, definitely.
Ben, thanks so much for tuning in tonight and answering all of our questions. It definitely was a great deep dive into this season, some great insights into some pivotal moments of this season. So I'm so glad that we were able to get you on. Everybody else that is watching, we will have our final interview for our finale contestants. We will be tuning in Wednesday at 7 o'clock with Alexa. So we can spill some tea over there with Alexa. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe to both Live Reality Games on all social media so you can stay up to date with all content, as well as Survivor LU and all their social media. So you can be ready for season 2 when they start dropping that content. Hopefully, Ben, we can have you back for some commentary of the season. It'd be super fun to get some more voices in here. I know I'm not spoiled. Drew's not spoiled. So I don't know how much you know of season 2, but don't spoil it for us.
Don't worry. I wouldn't be doing that. But yeah, that sounds like it's a ton of fun.
Definitely. So Ben, thanks so much again for coming by. I hope everybody who's watching it has a great morning, a great afternoon, great evening, no matter what time you're watching this. So we will be signing off tonight, and for then, we will see you Wednesday.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
For sure. Bye.